debate over equal pay for women.
Sure.
There was a lot of debate on that last week. Finally, Republicans blocked it in the Senate. Are Republicans against equal pay for women, and is that going to be a good political issue in these coming midterm elections?
You know, I find this war on women rhetoric just almost silly. It is Republicans that have led the fight for women's equality. Go back through history and look at who was the first woman to ever vote, elected to office, go to Congress.
But why
out of five
did
governors.
the Senate Republicans then block this?
All right. Why, oh, why, oh, why? Bob Schieffer with Congressman Blackburn, who was with us earlier. And with us now is Nicolle Wallace, former communications director for George W. Bush and former senior advisor for the McCain-Palin campaign. And you watch her on Morning Joe on MSNBC. Hello.
How are you today?
Good. Good to talk to you. It's been too long, I say.
It's been way too long. It was winter, and then it was spring, and now it's winter again. It's been so long.
Yeah, that's absolutely
true. You live in New York. I know. So.
Yeah, we had the snow, the frost, and the windshield was frozen. What a nutty 24 hours it's been. Anyway, welcome back. So are the Democrats, I don't think they can make their minds up, or maybe it's just an all-out assault. They can't decide if they're just going to call, Republicans racist, or if they're going to go with this war on women and the pay inequality, quote unquote. Is this going to be what we're going to see from now to November?
Well, listen, Ruth Marcus at the Washington Post, who is no advocate for or defender of Republicans, really called Democrats on the carpet last week when President Obama took to the East Room and had an event that I heard was more like a church sermon where he called for the Congress to pass the equal pay. Now, if you ask every Republican whether two human beings who do the same job should get paid the same amount of money, every Republican on the planet would say yes. But if you put it to Republicans, because of this highly polarized and politicized climate that President Obama and the White House and the Democrats have created, should men and women be paid the same for the same job? For some reason that I can't understand, Republicans feel defensive or sound defensive. Republicans are for two human beings who do the same job getting paid the same thing. That means two men, that means two women, that means a man and a woman. So Republicans have to stop falling for the shenanigans that the Democrats are serving up. Of course Republicans are for two people being paid the same for doing the same job. But the problem is that's the law of the land. And I think that's why so many Republicans are befuddled by this brazenly political move.
Well, I mean, it's a bogus issue because as the White House itself, Jay Carney, when confronted, Nicolle, that they pay 88 cents on the dollar to men to women, he said, wait a minute, that's not for the same job, and that's because of college education and how long they stay in the workforce and a lot of factors, which makes the whole issue moot. But the White House isn't withdrawing from that issue. They're piling on.
And what is to be admired is the chutzpah that this White House has. Here's a White House that does not pay women the same, as Jay Carney had to admit in that press conference. Yet they're taking this, sledgehammer and using it as a weapon against not just Republicans, but against women all over this country. So what I would love to see Republicans do would be to get out of the defensive crowd. Say, of course, we're for paying two human beings the same amount of money for doing the same. That's the law of the land. And to really call them to the carpet for politicizing and demagoguing an issue that, and listen, there are a lot of places where I think a lot of women make up the largest number of small business owners in this country. Republicans could make a lot of headway with women by talking about their agenda for small businesses in this country. Small businesses are getting killed by Obamacare, and Republicans should really get themselves back on offense and put this issue to bed.
Right, as are women in the workforce in general getting killed. Now, you got a great book out now called It's Classified, so talk about that.
Well, I've written two novels about a fictional female president, and she is a Republican. I've spent a lot of time thinking about these issues, and I would love to see a woman-run White House. I think it changes not just the little things, but it changes the big things, and I would love to see that in my lifetime. But I think that we set women back when we have these conversations that are politically dishonest. And I think it's beyond ironic that it's a male president using the politics of women in a way that is more unseemly than anyone in either party has ever done in political history. So I think I spend time in my fictional world with a fictional female president, in part because I'm desperate to see the politics change, but in part I'm just so exasperated by the way they've divided women amongst themselves.
Well, let's talk about two women, maybe three women if we have time, who will never be president. Lois Lerner, through a FOIA Request Act, the Judicial Watch has come up with emails reportedly that show that Lois Lerner wanted to sic the Justice Department on some of these conservative groups and the FEC, where she used to work. I mean, we know about the emails that the committee presented that showed contact between her and Elijah Cummings, the senior Democrat on that committee, the Oversight Committee, that they might have been in cahoots with regard to information on another one of the groups in question, True the Vote. So, I mean, are we ever going to get the revelations of this whole scandal? Because it looks more and more like she has a lot to take the fifth for.
Well, I mean, and when are we going to start calling this what it is? These were crimes. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but it sounds to me like these were crimes committed against conservative groups. They were singled out. They were prosecuted, they were investigated, and they were harmed in a lot of these cases. It costs a lot of money to respond to an inquiry from the IRS. It costs a lot of money when you're audited. It costs a lot of money when your legal status is questioned. And so she has personally harmed many conservative groups. And I think that Republicans can't let them run out the clock on this. We can't get weary. I think we really have to steel ourselves and see this through to the end.
No, I couldn't agree. Next woman who's not going to be president, but she may want to be senator from Kansas, if you could believe it. The deer in the headlight herself, Kathleen Sebelius. Can you imagine her actually running for Senate?
Listen, I hate to give anybody else. I like to let Obama own all of the blame for this terribly conceived and executed and rolled out law. But she is not from California or New York, where you may be able to find enough people who are confused by, who may actually like government taking over health care. She's from Kansas, and people in Kansas understand that the government takeover of health care is a bad idea. So I just can't imagine that her political fortunes are going to be very fulfilling to her in her home state.
And then there's Mary Landrieu, who has done a campaign commercial where she reenacted a Senate hearing for a campaign ad where they fixed some flubs that she made in the original hearing.
Listen, it's my experience, and I learned this working for George W. Bush, who he may have flubbed some lines here and there, but he was authentic, and he meant what he said, and he said what he meant. And voters appreciate that. And Mary Landrieu's biggest problem isn't her flubs, it's her position. So I think it was a ridiculous waste of time, and I think it never pans out to treat voters like they're too stupid to see the difference.
All right, is Jeb Bush going to run, and do you think he should? You're familiar, I'm sure, with Ron Christie, who we had on right after Jeb made the remark about immigration and being an act of love in some cases, illegal immigration, and he said he just torpedoed any chance he had. What do you think?
Again, I think voters are really smart. I think that his position on immigration is born from a whole lot of experience with, the immigrant communities in Florida. And, I'm from a border state, and those people that live in Texas or Florida or California that deal with a big influx, I think they have a little more leeway to speak their minds and speak their hearts. And I think that Republican voters are hungry to win. I think they're sophisticated and smart. And I think that if this is an issue that divides our party, we're not going to win the White House. If this is an issue where we can tolerate differences of opinion, we have a much better chance of winning the White House in 2016.
All right, but I got news for you. I'm going to go rob the corner store, or my kid is hungry, and I'm going to use the Jeb Bush defense. So watch that. But Nicolle Wallace, great to talk to you. We'll talk to you soon. We'll watch you on Morning Joe. Thank you.
And if it's an act of love that you steal those Twinkies, I'll forgive you.
All right, Morning Joe. Give me 5 is next.
We don't just talk about the news. We talk to those.